I wake up every morning around 6, and before I do anything else, I reach for a glass of water sitting on my nightstand. I've done it for years now, and I want to tell you why, because it may be the single simplest thing you can do for your blood pressure, and almost nobody talks about it. Here's what I mean. There's a window of time, roughly the first hour after you wake up, when your body is quietly under more strain than at almost any other point in the day. Your blood pressure surges. Your blood is thicker than it's been in 24 hours. And most folks, without realizing it, walk straight into that window and pour a cup of coffee on top of it. But there's one small thing you can do first, before the coffee, before the toast, before you even sit down, that research suggests may take some of that pressure off. Stay with me, because the second half of this, the part I add on right before I eat, is where it really comes together. Let me start with what actually happens to your body overnight, because once you understand it, the habit makes perfect sense. When you sleep, you're not drinking anything for 7, 8, maybe 9 hours, but your body doesn't stop working. You're still breathing out moisture with every breath. You can see it on a cold morning when the window fogs. You're still sweating a little under the covers, your kidneys are still filtering, so by the time the sun comes up, you've lost a real amount of fluid and nobody replaced it. You wake up, in a word, dehydrated. Mildly, most of the time, but dehydrated all the same. Now here's the part that matters for those of us over 60. As we age, two things change that make this worse. First, our sense of thirst gets quieter. I tell my patients this all the time. When you were 25, your body practically shouted at you when you needed water. By 70, that signal is more of a whisper, and it's easy to miss entirely. You can be genuinely low on fluid and simply not feel thirsty. Second, our bodies hold on to less water overall as we get older. So we start the night with less in reserve, and we don't get the same warning when we're running low. Put those together, and a lot of older adults are walking around every single morning more dehydrated than they have any idea. So what does that have to do with blood pressure? This is where it gets interesting. Think about your blood for a moment. When you're well hydrated, your blood flows fairly smoothly. It's thinner, it moves easily through your vessels. But when you're low on fluid, the water content of your blood drops, and the blood becomes thicker. More viscous is the medical word. Picture the difference between pouring water through a garden hose and pouring honey through it. Your heart has to push harder to move thicker blood through your vessels. And when the heart pushes harder against more resistance, pressure goes up. Research suggests that even mild dehydration can nudge your blood in that thicker, stickier direction. Now layer that on top of something called the morning blood pressure surge. Your body has an internal clock, and in the early morning, as you're waking, it releases a wave of hormones, cortisol and others, to get you up and going. Those hormones naturally raise your blood pressure and heart rate to prepare you for the day. That's normal. That's supposed to happen. But it means your blood pressure is already climbing right at the moment your blood is at its thickest from the overnight fluid loss. Two things stacking up at the same time, and this isn't a small academic point. Doctors have long observed that heart attacks and strokes are more common in those first few morning hours than at any other time of day. There are several reasons for that, and I don't want to oversimplify, but the combination of that pressure surge and thicker blood is part of the picture researchers point to. So the question becomes, is there something gentle, something simple you can do to meet that morning the right way? And that brings me back to the glass of water. Let me tell you about a patient of mine. I'll call her Eleanor. Eleanor was in her early 70s, sharp as a tack, took good care of herself. But her morning blood pressure readings were consistently higher than the rest of her day, and it bothered both of us. We looked at everything. And in talking it through, it came out that Eleanor's mornings went like this. She'd wake up, get straight out of bed, go make a strong cup of coffee, and not drink a drop of water until nearly lunchtime. Coffee, as many of you know, is a mild diuretic. It can actually pull a little more fluid out of you. So here's Eleanor, already dehydrated from the night, adding coffee on top, and not rehydrating for hours. I didn't change a single one of her medications. I simply asked her to try one thing. Keep a glass of water by the bed and drink the whole thing before her feet even hit the floor, before the coffee. Just that. Now, I want to be careful here because I'm not going to tell you Eleanor's numbers transformed overnight, and I'm not promising you a miracle. But over the following weeks, she told me her mornings felt different. Less of that groggy, heavy-headed start, more steady on her feet when she stood up. And when we tracked her readings, that morning gap had narrowed. Was the water the whole story? Probably not entirely. But it was the one thing she changed, and it cost her nothing. Here's why it makes sense physiologically. When you drink a full glass of water first thing, you're doing several good things at once. You're adding fluid back to your blood, which helps thin it back toward where it should be, so your heart doesn't have to work quite as hard. You're giving your kidneys, which have been concentrating everything overnight, the fluid they need to do their job of managing your body's salt and fluid balance, and that balance is deeply tied to blood pressure, and you're supporting healthy circulation right at the moment your body is asking the most of it. Research on hydration and vascular health suggests that staying properly hydrated helps your blood vessels stay flexible and responsive, and stiff, unresponsive vessels are a real driver of high blood pressure as we age. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. A regular glass of plain water, room temperature or cool, whatever you find easy to drink. Somewhere around 8 to 12 ounces, a full glass. You don't need to gulp it. You don't need lemon or anything special, though a little lemon is fine if you like it. The point is simply to break that overnight fast with fluid before you break it with food or caffeine. Now, before I go on to the second half of this, the part I promised you, let me pass along one quick thing. If you find these plain-spoken explanations helpful and you'd like a simple written guide to the morning habits I talk about with my own patients, I've put a link down in the description below. No cost, nothing complicated, just a friendly reminder you can keep by the coffee pot. Take a look if you'd like. Now let's get to the part that makes this even better. Because water is the foundation. But there's one more small thing I do, and I think it's what really ties the morning together. After I drink my water, not right away, give it a few minutes, I get a little movement in before I sit down to eat. And I don't mean exercise in the way that word scares people. I don't mean the gym. I mean 5 minutes of gentle, easy movement. A slow walk around the house, a few laps to the mailbox and back if the weather's kind. Some gentle stretching, rolling the shoulders, standing up tall, moving the ankles and wrists. Enough to tell your body gently that the day has started. Here's the thinking behind it. Remember that morning surge, and remember that your blood has been pooling and settling all night while you were lying still. When you get up and move, even gently, you're encouraging your circulation to get going in a smooth, gradual way, rather than lurching from complete stillness straight into the stress of the day. Movement helps your muscles act like little pumps, helping blood return to the heart. Research suggests that light physical activity supports healthy blood pressure, and doing a bit of it in the morning may help ease that transition from rest into your day. Think of it as warming the engine before you drive, rather than flooring it cold. I had another patient, a gentleman I'll call Walter, a retired mailman of all things, who told me the walking part came naturally to him, but he'd never connected it to his health. He'd spent 40 years walking his route, and in retirement he felt worse sitting still. When we added the glass of water first and then a slow 5-minute walk before breakfast, he said it was like getting a piece of his old rhythm back, gentle, sustainable, nothing that left him winded or sore. And that word, sustainable, is really the heart of why I'm sharing this. So many of the things we're told to do for our health are hard. They take willpower, money, equipment, a whole lifestyle overhaul. This costs nothing. It takes about 10 minutes total. A glass of water, a few minutes of gentle movement, and then you sit down to your breakfast, having met the hardest hour of your day on better footing. You can start tomorrow. You don't need permission or a prescription to drink a glass of water. Now, I do need to say something important, and please hear me on this. If you take blood pressure medication or heart medication, or if you've been told to limit your fluids for any reason, and some people with certain heart or kidney conditions genuinely are told to watch their fluid intake, then you must talk to your own doctor before you make this a habit. What's right for most people isn't right for everyone, and your doctor knows your particular situation in a way I never could from here. This is general education, not a personal instruction for your body. So bring it up at your next visit. Ask, Doctor, would starting my morning with a glass of water and a little gentle movement be a good idea for me? Most of the time, for most folks, they'll be glad you asked, but let them be the one to tell you. If this was helpful, and you'd like to keep learning about the small practical things that support heart health and healthy aging, that same guide is waiting for you in the description below. Go ahead and grab it so you have these reminders handy. I put these together the way I'd explain them to a friend across the kitchen table, because that's really what this is. So here's what I'll leave you with. Tonight, before you go to bed, fill a glass of water and set it right there on your nightstand where you can't miss it. In the morning, drink the whole thing before your feet hit the floor. Give it a few minutes, get up, and move gently for 5 minutes before you sit down to eat. That's it. That's the one simple thing. It's not a cure, it's not magic, and it doesn't replace anything your doctor has you doing. It's just a small, steady kindness to a body that's carried you a long way. Remember, everything I've shared today is general information to help you have a better conversation with your own physician. It is not medical advice, and it's not a substitute for the care of the doctor who knows you. Please don't change anything about your medications or your routine without talking to them first. You take good care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.